15 things poor people do that rich don't. Hello viewers! Welcome back to another YouTube video. Your habits make you successful or unsuccessful. I'm sure that most of you agree with that. If you take into account the most successful people in this world, you will find that most of them share the same habits. However, in this video, we will not be discussing the habits of the rich. Instead, we will dig deeper into the 15 things that poor people do that the rich don't. In other words, 15 habits that the poor people have, but the rich don't. So, brace yourselves as we begin with the countdown. Number 15. Poor people believe that others should help them reach the top. The world doesn't owe you anything. Nobody does, believe it or not. You're in this by yourself. You are in charge of what happens in your life. This world we're living in rewards only the best, those that never quit, those that keep learning, keep adapting, and timely build the understanding that nobody will solve their problems for them. Along the way, you might meet people who feel the same way and might share parts of the journey with you. But these people are meant to walk their own paths, just like you are meant to walk on your own path. So one day, you will be left on your own. Number 14. Poor people spend money before they get it. The second you start borrowing money or acquiring expenses before you're able to pay them, your life starts to spiral downward. If you don't have the money for something that you're willing to part with without affecting your life, then you can't afford it. Go back to work and then get it. Number 13. Poor people use credit cards or take out loans for useless things. One of the main differences between rich and poor is how they make use of credit. The rule is simple. If you take out a loan to buy something that doesn't generate more money than the loan, don't take it. It's that simple. You should only use credit if what you'll be using it for is an investment. Want to take out a loan for a large TV? Such items should not be on your credit. Instead, earn the money and then spend it. Number 12. Poor people wake up later than rich people do in their early years. Poor people are often lazier than the rich in the early days. We know that some of you will be bothered a lot by the previous statement, but statistically, it's the truth. Someone who used their youth to grow themselves is a lot less likely to remain poor later on in life. Instead, if you wake up late, don't educate yourself, waste time on meaningless activities. At one point, you'll find yourself so far behind what the world needs from you, and you will end up unsuccessful. The paradox is that people who do not focus on growth in the early days end up working a lot harder with little success later in life. Number 11. Poor people watch a lot of TV. It's amazing how much time poor people waste on television. It's one of those distractions that grabs you and doesn't let go if you know which celebrity is dating who, and if you're watching TV shows every week as the episodes come on. If you have a favorite news channel, you're probably watching too much television. Hence, why your life is the way it is. Let us explain. Celebrity gossip and buzz offers no value to your life. Disconnecting from your problems instead of dealing with them and getting them out of the way happens occasionally. You might say that the only good reason to watch TV is to be aware of what's happening in the world and stay informed about the problem. Instead of that, use the power of the internet to get a quick glimpse of what the world is like today and move on to do your own thing. Number 10. Poor people buy clothes or products that are on sale. Let me put it this way. The only thing you should buy on sale are stocks. While poor people are looking to conserve or stretch the little that they have, the rich are focused on increasing their incomes. Just think about it. The clothes that end up being on sale are the ones that people who could afford to pay the full price didn't want to buy. Number 9. Poor people don't shower. Poor people don't shower as much as rich people. No, this was just a made-up fact, but it turns out to be true, and amazingly, it explains a lot when you really think about it. Most of the jobs today are in the service industry, where human contact is a must in order to have a successful exchange of value. People who don't have good personal hygiene will, in time, be less successful than their counterparts. people tend to trust them less. People want to spend less time with their presents, and all of this has ramifications. In their personal life, if people don't like you and don't want to be around you, what kind of partners will you attract exactly? It might seem ridiculous, but the first step to success should be an early morning shower. Number 8. Poor people have no money saved. One of the differences between poor people and the rich is that the former don't get ready for what's next. Having money put aside allows for growth. Let's say something bad happens. If you have money put aside, then the problem is solved and you can resume your life. But if you don't, and the situation is urgent, what do? You can either liquidate an asset like your car, house, etc., or you can take a loan from the rich. If you're someone who's poor, then your lifestyle has been dramatically hit or now belongs to the creditor. Let's look at an exact opposite when an opportunity arises. Those who have money put aside now have the chance to expand their lives, while the others can't afford to take full advantage of this opportunity. That's why the rich are growing richer, while the poor are getting poorer. Number 7. Poor people tend to have more kids earlier in life. The truth is, kids are really expensive. Just to give you a sense of perspective, if you're living in one of the more developed countries, raising a child will cost you approximately $250,000 because of a lack of education. The rich wait a couple of years until their standards of living improve in order to ensure the right environment and prime conditions for their child to flourish, whereas the poor just go ahead with it. Once the baby comes, the struggling begins, just so they can stay afloat and progress, whereas in the case of the poor, they barely survive, which makes it impossible to achieve anything. Number 6. Poor people surround themselves with other poor people. There is a famous saying, "You are judged by the company you keep." If you're surrounded by 4 poor people, guess who's the 5th? One of the ways people make sure they stay poor is by associating themselves or hanging out with other poor people that reinforce their core beliefs. You need people around you that will inspire you and push you further, that are doing incredible things themselves, whose success will only motivate you to exceed your current reality. If you're hanging out with the same people you did when you were young, you might want to double check and don't be afraid to step away from a crowd and move on to something better. If you don't, your potential will probably be crushed by those who want to feel better about their miserable lives by making sure you suffer the same fate. Number 5. Poor people never follow through on their ideas or potential. You're not able to control who your parents are, where you were born, or the way society treats you. The only thing you can control is the amount of hours you put into your dream. Every single person alive only has 24 hours per day. And yet, some do a lot more than others. If you dedicate yourself to learning and implementing more about what you're passionate about, it's only a matter of time until you reach success. You've heard that 9 out of 10 businesses fail in their first 3 years. Well, do you know how many businesses fail because they never got started? The answer is all of them. If you have an idea, work on it. Put it out there. Get feedback, improve it, launch it again, and again and again. Number 4. Poor people do not regular checks their medic. Poor people do not regularly get themselves checked. Let's say by mere chance you end up having a difficult disease. Let's say cancer if you do regular checkups. You'll discover it in the early stages, making the treatment possible at a lower cost. If, on the other hand, you neglect to do so, you might discover it only when it's too late, and it will cost both you and your entire family a fortune. And no matter how much money you have, you might still lose your life. Number 3. Poor people eat fast food. Poor people are blasting their brains with large quantities of sugar and fats with no nutritional value. They are actively ruining their bodies, and as a result, they cannot perform at 100% of their potential. Aspects of your life are directly affected. You'll suffer physically, mentally, professionally, and even romantically. Number 2. Poor people are really into sports. The truth is, unless you're a professional athlete or an owner of one of the teams, then there's really no reason for you to watch sports. Think of it like this. You're putting yourself in a position where you as an individual have no impact on the outcome of the game. This zero-impact behavior then sticks with you, and you end up being a spectator in life instead of being a player or an owner. Number 1. Poor people blame others for their misfortune. There are some things that are out of our control. The 99% of your life is in our control. Remember that you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your relationships. You are in charge of your health. Life is not what happens to us, it's how we react to what happens to us. When something bad happens, the poor choose to victimize themselves while the rich look into it and study it. They seek to find out what happened, why it happened, and how they can protect themselves from it in the future. While one assumes the position of vulnerable victim, the other uses it as a growing point. And this is it for today's video. Make sure you hit the follow button and subscribe for more amazing content.